Hello, sir. So it is almost 9 p.m. here, and you were right. I will struggle with this fucking exercise. I was busy all day long and had a pretty shitty day emotionally. I didn't have the time to create the YouTube channel yet, which I have to do, but I thought I made a commitment every day, at least 3 minutes of a fucking video, so I'm gonna do it, even if it sucks. So let's start. So we had 40 seconds, need to get to at least 4 minutes. All right, let's do it. Why do some people enter in a room and instantly captivate the attention? What is the secret of the actors or famous people who just radiate some kind of energy or charisma when they enter in the room and everybody has to notice them? What makes the difference between a guy that is unnoticed and someone that is noticed by the women, by other guys, who just creates a great first impression? Well, I think in order to answer this question, we just need to define very well what we mean by making a good first impression, right? What is a first impression and when does it stop? In my opinion, the really first impression happens in the first couple seconds, up to 10 seconds max. That's literally the first contact that people make with someone. You can make a very good impression with the first words you use, the first appearance you show, the mask that you show on your face. And really, that's all what it comes about. What kind of person you show to people so that they get intrigued. So making a good impression, or basically being unnoticed versus being noticed, goes along the line of being different. Making something that others don't do, but something that also is high value, because you can be equally noticed for being totally creepy or totally weird or, you know, just not fitting in. So the first impression happens in the first couple seconds, and especially that's an important concept for women, who most of them, when they see a guy within the first 30 seconds, they can already imagine themselves sleeping or not with that guy. Just imagine her talking to James Bond or George Clooney, and the first impression is this guy is well dressed, he has a suit. What else? His shoulders are back, he stands straight. What else? He probably has a very strong eye contact with people. He probably enters the room feeling that it's his. So, looking at this example, I think the most important aspect is certainty. Certainty in who you are and what you do. And if you have that inner confidence, that certainty, then it is shown in the way we communicate with people. That being the body language, the voice, the tone, the potential things you'll do differently. For example, being unapologetic, making something that others don't do. Me personally, I used to go in clubs when nobody was there, so that I can wait to people to arrive. And when the first couple, especially girls, would arrive, I would start a party. I would start to dance on the dance floor, and that would be my way to stand out and to create a good first impression. Why? Because it shows that I have the confidence to show up in a place where usually people are all just lost in the mass, but also that I have the ability to create some kind of energy or momentum for everybody. And this can be created through a joke, through a laughter, through any kind of high value, I would say, even though we need to define what is high value here, through any kind of high value approach. And so, summarizing what we just said, to make it very easy, there are basically two ways to create a good first impression. And they all tie to the same fundamental concept. One we said is certainty. Certainty in who you are, which creates the body language, the tone, the eye contact, basically knowing that it's you. If you notice yourself, then others will notice you. If you feel that you're noticeable and you stand out, then you will stand out. And that if you look at people who, for example, put tattoos on themselves, or where the old concept of peacocking was just people dressing in a way that is completely out of what people usually do, they didn't necessarily create a good first impression. They were just noticed. This can obviously come with a very high confidence and create a very strong attraction, because difference, we're attracted by what we don't have. So if someone has confidence and you don't have, as women usually fall in this category, then the attraction can be triggered very quickly, as we said. But you can also peacock or do all those things and not have the certainty that you actually matter. I have this client who asked me yesterday if I really think that girls like to be randomly approached. And I asked him, hey, do you think that if she was approached by her ideal guy or George Clooney, she would not want to be approached? And he said, well, but George Clooney or that ideal guy is just her ideal, so it makes sense that she likes it. So I returned the question on himself. So the question is not whether girls like to be approached or not, but do you think girls like to be approached by you? And that is something that triggered him a lot, because he understood that obviously if he was the ideal, if he could make first impressions, then women would like to have the ability to him making the first impression towards them. But he wasn't sure of that. So no wonder he doesn't create a good first impression, since he is just uncertain of who he is. First point. The second point, as we said, standing out, doing things that are different, doing things that stand out from the mass. I would say this works if you have the certainty, but it can also work, as we said, if you don't. If you just crack a joke when things don't go well, and it creates that momentum for everybody. So creating momentum is an important part of that. So basically, I would say, to summarize this, stand out by creating momentum. Whether it's usually it's just about amping up the energy, whether it's through a high intense gaze that you could just, look across the room and laser focus on the girl and just make her feel that, the tension increases, so increase in energy, or in overall the movement, so the happiness of people, whether it's through a joke or, as I said, through a dance move or something flashy, something that comes out of the regular life. And so the final point I wanted to talk about is these two important things, because one is very internal, the certainty, the confidence, this inner charisma. You can just imitate someone who has it, but that can work just for first impression, but will fade very quickly. Whereas the second, you can literally learn it. You can look at how people create those first impressions and imitate it. But just talking about that first impression, those two concepts, certainty and creating momentum, standing out by creating momentum, changing people's state, are all both related to the ability to handle fear. If you look at it from that perspective, there are core emotions that everybody experiences: joy, sadness, anger, surprise, disgust, and fear. These are the fundamental emotions shared by mostly all mammals and whatever. Not going to go into details about that. Whoa, shit. But, sorry for that. But, what you need to realize is that in those two things, you have to face fears. Fears of basically being rejected, being considered completely different, being weird, which at the primal level is very dangerous. Who knows, if you do something crazy and people freak out, they can accuse you of being a harasser, or a guy can punch you in the face. Any of those things are scary. Certainty, as we talked about, is the inner confidence in the fact that whatever happens, you will be okay, which is very, very attractive. So I'm kind of rambling around because I haven't wrote the speech, but all this goes back to the fundamentals of polarity, and knowing that since women by nature cannot handle fear the same way as men do, a man can stand out and create a very strong first impression by being polarizing, by basically creating what is attractive is what we cannot have most of the time. And since women cannot have that ability to handle fear in the same way as men, handling fear triggers and creates attraction. This is actually at the core of any form of sexual arousal for women. So here we are. Hope I answered the question. The summary is in basically 3 points. There are 2 ways to create a strong first impression. Number 1 is inner certainty. Number 2, standing out by creating momentum. And, well, in the middle of the road here. And these 2 all go back to the core concept of handling deepest fears, which that's where we see how the core inner work is important when it comes to that, because you can imitate someone, work through the first impression, but it will fade away. So if you want to work on that fear and actually, go to the core concepts that we always goes back to when we talk about interacting with people, those concepts about the self. And if you want to learn how to actually create and trigger that attraction, then book a call below. We'll keep in touch and see if and how I can help you. Bye.